Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. I am Reed. Along with me is Mike. Mike, how's your afternoon going, sir?
Doing pretty good. I got the stack of comics there and just ready to talk about comics again.
Yeah, showing off some favorites. So, what we're gonna do this year on the channel monthly, we're gonna have a couple different series we'll look at. So every month we're gonna kind of highlight one of the greatest creators ever and go through that. But we also want to every month kind of take a look and just go through our stack of comics for that month and talk about the best new comics we read or just some cool old finds that we might have had. So, Mike, I'll let you kick us off for the new books this month. What's the best books you read for this month for January 2024?
Um, the best ones, I gotta say, well, for this month, I'm loving Jay Garrick Flash.
Hmm.
That one is awesome. A great story takes place in the 40s and in the present. So it's kind of cool to see Adams just really outdid himself writing this story and bringing in this character of Jay Garrick's daughter, and he really did good traveling between the two worlds of the golden age and the present age. So I just got to give him huge props. He really did good, and he loves the Flash, and so got to be a fan of him.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
then this one came in my box this week. I don't know how many people are reading Blade Runner 2039, but I love Blade Runner. I've been reading it for years. I love that animated show. They had the Black Lotus a little while back. That
Yeah.
was so cool. Um, but, I'm a huge Philip K. Dick fan. And so when I saw that they were doing Blade Runner comics, I've been buying them ever since. It's always been on my pull list. This story is really getting good with the old retired Blade Runner Ashina, and she's going after it's not Tyrell anymore, it's Wallace, and they're integrating you know the Nexus 8 model into the police force, and it's just an interesting story, and it kind of ties into some of the movies, the 2049 and the other. So I guess they're all leading up, like the next every iteration is 10 years later. So like last year it was Blade Runner 2029, and the one before that was 2019.
Yeah,
And
it's all kind of build into that 2049.
yeah, so at when this one finishes, it's going to be 2049. So I do expect it to meet the movie at some point, which was really cool. But my two favorite read are I think you and I both agree on these two.
Yeah, Beware the Planet of the Apes #1 and then Conan #6. Yeah, those are both very solid books.
I love the art. I'm loving the story. It's really cool. I love the book, and I love the movie. And when I was a kid, the TV series was on for Planet of the Apes, and so there's always a spot in my heart for anything Planet of the Apes. I've never read a Planet of the Apes comic. I don't even know if they had Planet of the Apes comics, but before this, but I do remember a couple of movies that came out, in the last 10 years or so, which were always pretty good also.
Yeah, I think Planet of the Apes, I think it's a cool book that you have coming out with that one. And that I think it's really trying to tie into the larger movie story and things like that. They've had some comics. Planet of the Apes is one of those ones I've never been like a mega fan, but I always just have a curiosity in it. And some of the other comic series they did, I know they did one a couple years ago or maybe last year. It was a little rough, a little bit of too much attempts to tie into modern day kind of issues. And so this was really cool to see this as kind of like a throwback, really tying into that time right before Taylor gets there.
All the way back, right?
Really
Yeah.
cool to see that. And then, yeah, we've done a whole bit of video on Conan. Yeah, it's the best book coming out by now by a landslide. There's some other good stuff happening, and we'll talk about those. But Conan, yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I think that's the best book as well. I know for you, you're always a facsimiles guy as well. Any great facsimiles catch your eye this month?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Secret Wars came out. I thought that was really cool. I had to get one of those. X-Men
And
number
number 4.
4. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one came out. That one really looks cool. It's great to see that one. And then, of course, this week, 123 came out yet again on 123, I imagine. Had to get the foil cover, of course, right, too.
Yeah.
But we did a video on this one already that if it comes out before this one, you'll see plenty of 123 on there. Hey, they dropped the price $1, so at least they're going.
Going backwards on the pricing a little bit on that.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll ever get back to 10 cents, but it was cool. It was
Probably
cool.
not coming anytime soon.
No,
It's
no.
good to see the facsimiles. I think you and I both enjoy those. I think me and you are the people who keep the facsimile services alive, at least here in the greater San Antonio area.
Oh
A
yeah.
couple cool things for me this month that I saw. One of the great things, Wolverine, I believe it was his 50th anniversary this year. So a lot of the Marvel comics are doing these really cool homage covers on Amazing Spider-Man. Kind of have that classic homage.
That one was
You've
cool.
got the Superior Spider-Man came out this month with the Spider-Man Amazing Spider-Man 50 homage one. My personal favorite Daredevil issue this month came out with the Daredevil #1 homage
That
cover.
one is so cool. I love that
Wolverine.
one.
Love when they do that stuff. Cool thing is all of these kind of tied into comics I already pick up anyway, so I had to buy too many extra books, but really cool to see them do something like that for a character like Wolverine. For books for me this month, some ones I thought really stood out. They did a relaunch of Cable #1. I can't say it's the greatest comic, but I wanted to put this in here. Is if you are a Cable fan, if you read Cable in the '90s, like I did as a kid growing up, a lot of cool tie-ins to characters like Irene Merriweather and stuff like that that were Cable staples back in the day. So not the greatest entryway point for folks, but if you like Cable like I used to in the '90s, it's really cool to see some of those. Hadn't seen those characters in a while. Art's pretty good. Story's not bad, but it was just really cool to see Cable on the shelf again. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that there. The books that I read this month, very similar to the Jeremy Adams Flash one that you had. They're doing a Wesley Dodds Sandman story from some of these old JSA characters. I really love the story that Robert Venditti is saying. I will say with this, I light recommend it in that I cannot stand the art that is in this book. I don't really know why this artist was paired with Robert Venditti. This Sandman story is a very dark, kind of gritty story. It's a very noir type feeling to it. It reminds me a lot of like the '90s Vertigo. There's a Sandman mystery theater book that came out of Wesley Dodds. It seems very similar in that vein, not as dark as that, but the story is fantastic. The art pairing is really not the greatest. So I will absolutely recommend it to anybody for the story. Just prepare yourself for the art because it's not exactly the best. The three that I can wholeheartedly recommend that I think were great this month. Kneel Before Zod #1, kind of got the cool foil cover there. This is a new series with Zod. I think Joe Casey is the writer on this one. It's tying into some recent events that have happened with Superman and Zod. What I love about this is it's giving one of comics, I think's best villains kind of a showcase. And what I really like is there's an often tendency when a villain gets a book to kind of make them an anti-hero or clean them up. This is very much Zod being Zod. They're not changing the character or softening the character. It's really a cool story about him trying to, set this new Krypton that he's kind of been put in charge of and kind of make them an empire and protect it. It also deals with him having a wife and a kid. It was just a really cool and unexpected balance in a story. I would wholeheartedly recommend that. I think that was the best book from DC this month by a pretty good margin outside of World's Finest. The other two, Avengers Twilight #1 came out. This is a very interesting story as far as it's basically like a dystopian future kind of thing. This kind of seems like an attempt to do a Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight Returns story for Captain America. Which I'll be honest, where I was really relieved with this, it was just so cool to see Captain America being presented as Captain America again. Steve Rogers to me has taken the biggest beatdown of any character in the last decade, just getting continuous artists who don't like him. I also think the art was pretty good in it. It has a little bit of a futuristic vibe to it. It's cool. It fits the tone in the story, and that's Daniel Acuna on that. Chip Zdarsky's writing it. I think he did a really good job. There's a lot of really cool moments in it. And then there's a really cool kind of backup story as well. I think that's capturing some stuff from Walt Simonson in the back that kind of ties into what's happening in the comic. So it's really cool. This is a mini series, but I would say definitely worth checking out if you want something that seems like it's going to build a good Captain America story. And then we'll do a separate video breaking down this comic in more detail. But Ultimate Spider-Man #1, outside of Conan, this was the second best book that I read this month. Um, this thing, I mean, it's selling out everywhere. So I guess if you're watching this, you're probably
Uh,
aware of it. You'll
I
probably get a
see.
second print.
It looks like you had a Heroes and Fantasies tag on there. Did you have to break down and go to Heroes and Fantasies to find
I
it?
think it was Alien Worlds got me on this one. So yeah,
Oh, okay. Alien Wars.
they put
Okay,
the
good.
tag on that one. They were tagging all of them as they came in and putting them in the cases. So yeah, if you've seen any of the hoopla around it, that book is selling out pretty much everywhere. Seems like their second and third printing's coming, but it's absolutely worth it. It's a fantastic book. You've got Jonathan Hickman and Marcus Cicchetto on the book. Cicchetto's coming off of a great Daredevil series that he did, and then Jonathan Hickman, probably my favorite modern comic book writer. He just does a great job of presenting the story, and I think it's the book that's giving you, if you're a Spider-Man fan, the Spider-Man you've wanted for probably 20 years since they did that ridiculous decision to undo his marriage. It's got Peter as a father. There's a lot of cool twists and turns. I won't spoil them if you haven't read it, but it really just posits this different universe where things went very differently. And it's just really cool to see someone dig deep into it and actually present a different story. I am not the biggest fan of multiverses, but I do love, if you're going to do one, go completely different, completely change things. Do not write like, oh, hey, one little detail changed. And so this, the main premise is you're dealing with a Spider-Man in his 30s who's married, has kids. I love that his relationship with MJ is rock solid. I love that they had them get married and kind of completely showed like it wasn't because he was Spider-Man that she fell in love with him, like sometimes they present. This is just a really great story in the beginning of what seems to be a building good universe. So we'll have a more in-depth video on Ultimate Spider-Man coming soon on the channel. But I cannot recommend that one enough. It is absolutely worth the hype, and it's really cool to see comic stores get a win for it. So those are the best books that we had for this month. If you have any that you read this month that you'd recommend, please let us know down below. It's always interesting to see recommendations for folks. Every month we'll kind of just highlight the ones that we appreciated. So let us know what you think. As always, we appreciate you watching, and we will catch you on our next video.